here really.
Yeah,
So,
no, that's okay.
Thanks for coming.
Excellent. Thanks very much.
James.
We're relying on Kathy to run our presentation, please.
I have. Thank you for printing something off that I can see.
Without your glasses.
Marvellous.
Right. I'm James Ensor and I'm represented by Eden Husband as well from our boat safety group. I'd like to thank you, Mr Mayor, the councillors, and also I note the Chief Executive, Mary Richardson, who's been a supporter of our projects as well. It's with sad loss too, I've just got to mention Roger Allen has passed this year and he put a lot of survey work into this project, and also Tony Whiteley, who lived in Littleton. I want to start by the first page here in our presentation, and the few things I want to highlight is the Boat Safety Group commissioned a report on improving boat safety at Naval Point. The Community Board did its homework and said urgent solutions to improve boat safety was important. So nothing has happened. And then 2016, we gained support from the local Community Board, and the Boat Safety Group makes in its long-term submission improvements to safety at Naval Point. In 18, we got $10 million to go towards this project, and we thought there would be some movement in the actual improvements we need with regards to that. We put a lot of work into our project, and we've had no council response from last year's work, which we did, and we were very disappointed with that. So work was proposed for repair and reinstatement of the existing Naval Point breakwater spur, and we think that's really important for everyday users. We put up with this, and you'll see by some of the pictures. Now we've got the Christine Bow project, which was set up by Paula Smith, the Community Board Chairman, Marine Environs Development Project 357, and it was really important for them to see some real identification. So we just want to try and get some progress in that area. Then Eden's going to...
Well, it's just back in about 2016, there was a phone survey of 5,025 ratepayers and users conducted to establish the public support, and all participants gave their support for the improvements of the and we're talking here about the on-water safety improvements generally. And a workshop was conducted by Eric Banks, and it was initiated in May 2017 with a delegation from all the different boating groups. All the delegates, and with the support from the Banks Peninsula Community Board, wish to see this project implemented with urgency. And then the next picture, which is not up yet, is the next one again. The aerial view there. Now, there's been a lot of controversy over the spur, which is the furthest lowest point there, about reducing it in length. Now, OSAL designed that area back in 2000 or slightly before, and it was constructed then, and it's done a marvellous job. And as a boat user before the earthquake, this spur worked really well to protect the ramps in adverse weather conditions, because it just stops it coming around the point. And that big green area before the spur, that was, I mean, it's all reclaimed land anyway, but it was put in there for a reason, to stop the weather migrating around that edge. And then the next is an aerial, a Google image in 2006, before the earthquake. And as you can see, the extent of the spur. And then again, the next one was February 25 after the earthquakes, and the length of the rock spur is substantially shorter. And then this breakwater is just a typical sort of floating breakwater. And as you can see, the effect of it's having on the water conditions on the leeward side. This is just one example of a breakwater, and you will notice the large calm area towards land that it creates.
Now, this is what we're proposing, and we'd like to do last year, and nothing happened, and we'd like to actually see it happen this year. It's covered by consent, and you'll see the consent follows. So the existing break spur has actually sunk down, and there's some pictures coming over that show you what it's like at around about half tide, just coming up that. So if we did the stage 1 of this, and then did stage 2, we took legal action to have a look and see what was the best way to proceed with this, because we haven't really been listened to very well over the last few years. And they suggested, with the council funding being quite tight, why don't we do it in stages? So that's why we're doing stage 1, stage 2, review that and monitor it and see how that goes for the breakwater and the breakwater plans down the track. We're miles apart on what some of the staff actually think we need and the users that actually use it every day. The consent here has covered part of it. That's the consent number, and it expires in 2031. At the port recovery plan, they said, don't, whatever you do, cancel this, because if you cancel it, you won't get it back. There was 25 faction groups that were opposed to the port recovery plan, and they said you'll get them back as well. So go over 2, and then we can see here.
This shows that how difficult it would be to safely retrieve a boat from the water in conditions that actually aren't too severe, and it would be pretty difficult to put a trailer in that sort of conditions.
You can see here, this picture here, this is approaching half tide, and you can see where it's sunk. The waves come over the top, and from about half tide to full tide, and then about half tide out again, the waves just roll in there, and it makes it like that last photo. You can see it really, really easily.
Yeah, this is some results from the survey that the late Roger Allen did in 2016, 2017, and a Becker study in 2011 indicated there being 15,843 registered trailer boats in Canterbury. Of the total vessels launched April 2016 to April 2017, 88% of those boats used the public slipway, with the 12 remaining percent using the club slipway. So it is well used. And what is required is a facility for retrieving a vessel in almost all weather conditions. That's paramount.
Now, just very quickly here, the next 2. One's a keel, and this is one of the reasons the new pontoons that are there are not suitable for sailing boats and a number of boats, because the keel's got to be retrieved, and you can't do that and then get your boat to where the ramp is, because there's rocks in between and you haven't got any steerage because the motors are fixed. The next one's the rudder, it folds up, and that gives you some idea. Another major problem. We did the costings in 21, and we got RJ Civil that were doing the work at the port company, and the rock that they suggested was the best rock for it. John Erie did it. And then over here was the costing figure for doing that, topping up that whole spare breakwater. So the figure here of 560k was for the whole job, and that was back then. So there'll be some cost increases now, but this gives us a base idea of what we're looking at. So we're probably looking at about half that figure, which is a small amount to pay for everyday users that are using this facility. We go to the next one. We'd like Christine Bowe to engage Kim Swarbrick to facilitate the community engagement due to her excellent work and previous consultations regarding the Naval Point development planning. The consultation has not actually been that clever and that well done. We've had several years now since we've had any results from the consultation. And the consultation unanimously said we need to make severe improvements, and we need to start now. And you can see the last picture here.
Yeah, if we just show the next picture, please. You'll see that that's actually the club slipway, but the public one's very similar. And it's if you notice the effect that the marina and boats, this was before the marina was de-established, having on the sea behind this marina. It's even that sort of a thing, that sort of facilities having an effect on stopping the heavy wave action.
Now, we're going to go through the sheet which has been...
The last one is the Boat Safety Group wished for the Council to engage in community engagement for the rebuilding, reinstatement of the Naval Point Spur breakwater back to its original form prior to the 2010 earthquakes. The community engagement should be initiated in May 2025, with submissions ending end of May, so that construction may begin for the initial stage 1 construction over winter 25. We have a new parks manager, and we expect to see urgent safety improvements starting this year. We require a workshop with CCC staff, Rupert Bull, Christine Bowe and Paul Devlin, as well as Lynn Leslie from the Banks Peninsula Community Board. We have need to engage with the community, having had no engagements for several years. Kim Swarbrick has been excellent in her previous work, facilitating the community engagement, and we would be pleased to have her continue in this role. The everyday end user need these improvements now. Stage 1 should commence this year with the rebuilding of the half of the current spur breakwater section which lies above the water at low tide to its pre-earthquake height. Stage 2 should follow 2026 with the remaining submerged section of the breakwater rebuilt to its former height. Careful monitoring of the effect of the breakwater on improving the wave environment will assist in evaluating the Stage 3 requirements for an extended breakwater to achieve the optimum affordable safety outcome. Thank you.
Got one question, Kelly.
And if you turn over the sheet at the back, it just remind you of what everyday users have to contend with.
Gentlemen, my question is just around, do you have any data on the number of days a year where wave action would make launching and retrieving boats problematic? Have you got?
Yeah, I could give you, because I go over there on Wednesdays, Saturdays and Sundays, and probably about one of those days it's pretty good. The second day would probably be average, and the third day is almost impossible to get off. And sometimes we've got to go in the inner harbour, and that's a challenge on its own.
Okay, so you're
It's a lot of time.
You're
That's why
saying
we
like-
put this in. This would be probably 60% of the time there's waves that make it unsuitable.
Yeah.
That's why it's really urgent.
Yeah, no, I get it in my capacity as a friend of a guy who has a boat. And yeah, it's always incredibly difficult to launch a boat when there are wave action. So what you're saying is you're there like 3 days a week, and you would say that at least 30% of the time that you're there, that it's unsuitable.
Yep, I'd say
use?
that. Yep, I'd say. But there's a lot of days. That's why the spare breakwater is so important, because it
Yeah, no,
stops the waves rolling round.
I get
if
that.
we could get that urgently done this year, we know now, it would actually help us as well.
My
It's
dad's
not
a harbour
perfect.
engineer, I get it. I've heard it all my life.
Thanks, Kel.
Thanks.
James, just so I'm on the right track, and I think I might be, Stage 1 is more or less 80% there. It's just topping it off with more rocks to get it
That's
above.
exactly
So
right.
it's-
And don't forget that part of that first half of that 70 metres is already there.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
there's not a lot of cost, and that's why it's so urgent to do it, and it would make such a difference. And also to the people, you've got to think all the other sports grounds and things have safety features that make it safe. We're in an environment, we can't ring up the ambulance, we can't get help. You know, there's nobody there to help us sometimes. It's really dangerous.
Okay, so, and you said, and you pointed out the consent's already done.
That's right, yep. And we don't want to see it change, because at the port recovery plan, they said if you scrap this, there's 25 groups that oppose the port recovery plan, only went through because of urgency.
So
So that's why it's important.
So you got the consent. All you need really is a digger and a fair few rocks. Not massive lots, but
Yeah, the right sort of stuff, like they did round the retaining wall for the new port recovery.
roger that. Okay. Thank you very much for coming in.
No, that's really good. And we met with staff just prior to this meeting, and they were not very enthusiastic about any rush for doing the job. And we felt, with legal opinion, that we actually need to do it now.
Yeah, James, we're at wages, so none of our staff have got boats anymore, so. Boats in the box.
Rotary Ho.
Thanks for your passion, though. You want to see it safe, though, for our ratepayers. 5,000 ratepayers, remember, supported this.
So we're in for a break there, aren't we?
We are. We're a bit of
Thank you.